Hi everyone, welcome back to Electric Sheep. This is episode 2 and I'm Lady Purl. And today we're going to go over blending fiber and spinning yarn. First I want to go over current projects, so what I'm doing with my life. One of the fun things that I started about a month ago, but I never do one project at once, so it's taken a while, is the Phelan fox cowl, which looks like that, and it's so cute I could die. And it is by a Velvet Acorn. I bought it off of either Etsy or Ravelry, but I know it's on both. I think it was actually Etsy that I bought it, and I finished it for the most part. I need to sew on the buttons, and it's really cute. It's got these little cute ears, and it is for my cousin's daughter. And I'm also making one in a wolf color. So she's going to have one fox and one wolf because she has 2 daughters. And this one I just need to finish up the hood and put on ears, and then the buttons, and it'll be done. So that's really fun. I would definitely suggest going to our Etsy page and buying that pattern if you have any small kids. Or really the pattern is actually written for children, babies, adult size, and toddler. So anyone in your life could get one of these as long as they like little animals. And she also has crocheted versions as well. This one is a knit one, and it's super easy. It's really easy to follow, so I love it. Alright, now we're going to be learning about blending fibers. So this week I went out and I was able to buy secondhand these beautiful combs, and they're super filled with fiber still because I was playing with them all weekend. But that is what hand carders look like. To me they look like huge cat brushes, but cat brushes aren't quite as sharp. And they're a lot smaller. So technically if you were on a super budget, because hand carders can be expensive, I bought mine used for $35, but they run anywhere from $50 to $90 depending on the brand name. So they're not super cheap, but the alternative is a drum carder, and they start around $300. So 30 to 50 bucks is super cheap in comparison to a drum carder. But a drum carder is going to take you no time at all, and hand carders are going to take you quite a while. But I'm very DIY, so I don't really mind. Last episode, on episode 2, where I talked about dyeing fiber, I dyed up this gold, beautiful gold roving. After it was all done and dried, I uncrocheted it, and I found that in the in-between parts where the roving was tied and sitting next to each other, it got really white. So I actually recoiled it up. I crocheted it into a tighter coil and dunk dyed the whole thing in the exact same manner, just to kind of doubly get any of those white spots. But I still wanted a little bit of white to give it kind of a shimmering look, like it was like the white bits are shining in whatever I end up knitting with this. And since last episode, I was able to get my hands on some Angelina, which is little tiny fibers that are sparkly. And I'm going to try to blend this today into my gold roving using my hand carders, and then spin it up on a drop spindle. This is an Ashford drop spindle. It's actually the first one I ever bought. It is very big and kind of clunky, and I have a very tiny one, which is good for fingering weight or lace weight yarn. This one can make sport, DK, fingering weight, maybe. It can, it can. And chunky yarn. It's really heavy. But it's great for beginners, and it was great for me to learn on. And I think I got it for $15, so that was super nice. I also have a spinning wheel, but since spinning wheels are so elaborate, I'm going to focus on drop spindle today. and blending fibers because that's already kind of a lot to handle. So right now I have torn off a couple bits of roving from my big coiled roving, and I just kind of pulled it off. It's pretty like, the fibers like to stick together, which is good because that's what makes it a good strong yarn, but you can pull them off, especially if you start pulling them off, pulling them apart from one another. So I'm going to grab a little handful and start throwing it on the carder. Can't really do it while not looking at it, but I'll try here. I'm gonna fill this up real quick. I can do it a lot easier if it's on my lap. And then I'm going to throw in some of that Angelina. And I forgot to mention before, but I got Angelina off of Etsy. It came in that little bag, and it was only about $3, which is really great, from AJ Handmaid's Creations, and I'm going to put a link for that under this video. Now, I've never used this before, so bear with me, but I'm going to take a little bit. Apparently this gets everywhere, so be careful. It looks like a bird's nest. And I'm just going to lay it on top of my roving. And the reason I'm really doing this is because I want it to be Rumpelstiltskin's gold. So I want it to glimmer and shine like gold does. And I did not put that much on. I'm going to probably add more, but that's what it looks like right now. And you want it to blend all together, so wish me luck. I'm just going to drag this across and then drag it across. And it's blending beautifully. I can see the sparkle in there, but it seems to have all stayed on one side, so I'm going to add a little bit more. And that probably won't matter too much once I start spinning it, because it's going to be in the middle of the little roll of fiber I make. But let's see. So if you were to be blending colors instead of what I'm doing, which is just this one variegated color of roving, it would blend the color together and kind of meld it in such a way. Oh, you can see the sparkles. They look so cool. Oh, I cannot wait to spin this up. It's going to look really neat. All right. Ooh. All right, now what you want to do, and I can already see that some of it's falling off onto my legs. So I've got it on both sides. You want to take one of the brushes and gently pull it down off of the other. I'm going to set this down, and you can actually roll it. It's going to be hard to do while not looking at it, but roll it off. And it comes off really easily because the tines of the brush are pointed in one direction. So as long as you're not going the opposite way, it's fine. And all of that glitter is stuck in the middle of it. And so when you spin it, it's not like it's not going to be there. It's going to be in the middle. So you can kind of see. It's all there in the middle. And when you spin it, it's going to be coming out of it. You kind of hold it like you would the roving and spin it off of the end. And you make a bunch of these little... Oh, and this one has a lot of the sparkle in it. You make a bunch of little rolls. This one I might have to redo because it's like all sparkle. Yeah, it looks much different. All sparkle. So I'm going to try to put this on the carder. So I did that. Put it right back on the carder, and I'm going to blend it in more so that it's not all in one area. I wanted the sparkle to be throughout it, not just stuck in a certain spot. I didn't want it to be stripes of sparkle. I wanted it to be sparkle every inch of it. Oh, and that helped a lot, so. So as you can see, it doesn't make a whole lot all at once because the brushes are fairly small. So you really want to, if you want huge bats all at once, you're going to want to invest in a drum carder. And I'm going to try to pull this off again. It's blended a lot better. And I made a little roll called a roll again or something along those lines. But the terminology is not really all that important. You could also call it a bat, but a bat is usually a big rectangle. Or you can call it roving because that's what it is. Or you can call it magic because that's what it is. What's really magic is going from the sheep, which I was able to do this week, right off the sheep, and get the fiber that's still in the fleece. Like I'd mentioned in the last episode, it would be dirty, and it was, and it'll be matted in some areas and totally unusable, but a good majority of it was awesome. And a friend and I washed a whole bunch of roving, or a whole bunch of fleece, and I'm doing this again once more so that I can get a good amount. We washed all of the fleece with Dawn dish soap. There are better means of doing it, but it worked pretty great. And rinsed it out a couple times, let it air dry for a good 24 hours. And then I was able to spin it. It just made white. You know, I didn't dye it. It wasn't fancy colors. I'm gonna put that on there to get the sparkles in. But it's amazing. These carders actually totally clean the fibers as well. I was wearing black pants at the time, and using these carders with the wool that we had just washed, which still had a whole bunch of vegetable matter still in it, and over my pants, all of this little scraps of hay and all of these little dried up leaves and grass was falling onto my pants. So obviously they're doing their job. They not only comb it so that it's totally usable and spinnable, but it cleans the fibers. Alright, and I'm going to do a little bit more of this, and then I'll show you how I spin it. So I've just made a bunch of these, like 6, and end up in these little cute rolls, and the more you pull on the end, the looser it's going to be, which makes it really easy to spin. On my drop spindle right now is a little piece of cotton yarn, and I've tied it in a knot at the end so that it's a loop to catch this roving. I'm going to put it on the hook on top, catch the roving, and bring it through just a little bit. And then I like to spin counterclockwise. I'm going to put this over my hand, because otherwise it's not going to work. And you just start spinning and pulling the roving back as you go. Spinning and pulling, spinning and pulling. It gets really, the tighter it gets, the stronger the yarn gets. And then you can take it off the hook and start turning it in the same direction that you were spinning. So for me, it's counterclockwise. And the very first one is the hardest because you're getting that cotton or whatever kind of base yarn. So I got it to catch, and then I start spinning it. And hook it onto the hook at top, start turning it. You hold on tightly to the roving. You don't want it, the spin, to go back into that, because then you kind of have to unwind it or it starts getting really annoying. It's kind of hard to explain, but it just gets too tight to actually pull. And the little glitter bits of Angelina are showing up in there. They're very subtle, but it's pretty cool. And again, the spinning wheel, I don't know if you can see the glitter. Yeah, you kind of can. The spinning wheel would make this go a lot faster. And I'm thinking about doing a few of these little rolls on this drop spindle. Oh, hi kitty. And then finishing it on the wheel. Just because it's faster. And then my next episode, episode 3, I'm going to show how to ply, which is taking 2 of these. So I will essentially spin half of this roving, and then I'll spin the other half in a different, and wind them into a different, like, pull from the center ball of yarn. So I'll have 2 of those, and then I will take those 2 and, pulling them at the same time, ply them together, just spin them together in the opposite direction of what I'm spinning it now, which is counterclockwise. So I will be spinning them clockwise, which, because of the way that fiber spins together, it's better. They like lock together when 2 plies of yarn are spun counterclockwise. They have to be plied clockwise. I don't know the science of it, but that's how it works. And I'm just going to show you a little bit more of this. I'll show you, like, I'm drafting is what this is called, which is pulling the fibers. Sometimes it's going to break. Sometimes your spindle's going to fall on the floor. Having a nice hefty spindle that's, wooden drop spindle is nice because I've dropped it a million times. A really delicate, fine one for lace is more advanced because when you drop those, sometimes they chip, sometimes they break, especially if you're dropping them on a cement floor or something like that. So you want to be careful with the little ones, but big clunky one, it's not going to break. I can drop it a million times, and it will drop occasionally, especially when you're new. And so this is coming up really even, which is awesome, but it took me a long time to get that. It'll come up thick and thin, it'll come up kind of crazy looking, but the more you practice at it, the better. Also, the kind of fiber you work with matters a lot. This is 100% merino wool, which is super soft but super catchy. So as I'm going and pulling the fiber and drafting it, it wants to catch the fiber behind it and keep spinning that up. If you're spinning something like silk, it doesn't do that. It's just slippery. Oh no! See, and that can happen too. I just spun that whole thing into there because it got caught on my hook. And that's not good. You can just untwist it and it'll come right off. Yes, so I just undid it. that's good to like hold in your hand if you can. What was I saying? So like I was saying, wool is the easiest to spin, and there are certain types of wool that are much easier to spin than others, which is kind of, it takes practice to experience really of different kinds of fibers to know which one works best for you. I accidentally started spinning silk, which is not catchy at all, super slippery, and it was the most aggravating thing I had ever done in my life. So I quickly quit spinning and left it in a bag for about 1.5 years. And then I went to a big convention where everyone was spinning, and it was too much for me to bear. So I was like, alright, I'll try this again. I bought some nice 100% wool, beautiful colors, and it worked out beautifully. So I was like, alright, I'll try this. I'll keep going at this. And that was only in, I don't know, February, so a couple months ago. And I have been working at it every single week, practicing as much as I can. I've been practicing with the wheel as well as the drop spindle if I'm trying to spin while traveling, you know, like if I go to a coffee shop to spin, I take my drop spindle. And I've gotten quite a bit better at it. So if it's discouraging, it might be the kind of fiber you're using. Do not start with silk. I just started again with some bamboo, which is also really, really slippery. And if I had started with that, it would have been horrible. So start with some wool, start with some nice, catchy fiber that you don't have to worry about. So this episode is getting long fast, so I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to continue spinning up this beautiful Rumpelstiltskin yarn, and hopefully I will have a skein that I can ply and show plying for next episode, as well as setting the skein, which is how to make it not crinkle up. Like as soon as you take it off of the spindle, it just like shrinks back into like a big ball, and you have to soak it for a little while and wring it out and make sure that it sets. And I can show that hopefully. And if you have any other questions, if anything I said was confusing, please comment below. If you have a tip or a tutorial idea, please comment below. I love to hear people's suggestions for what I should be doing. And if you like, please like. And if you want to keep updates on all that has been going on in the Lady Purl household, then subscribe and you'll keep getting reminders for my episodes. Yeah, otherwise, hopefully I'll see you next week, and have a good night. Bye.